Hello, Chris Sexton with TeamHeliPros.com. Welcome to my fourth and hopefully final build video on my Whiplash 90E. Last we left off, I got some soldering to do. I got my ESC wired up, I got my Beck wired up, I got my RX pack wired up. Servos are in, flybar controller is mounted. I'm going to take a quick second and run you through my setup, where I end up putting things, show you some close-up pictures. Probably also take some still shots later and work them into the video, so at this point it'll probably start showing you some up close still shots. Sky's the limit on this bird. There's absolutely a dozen places you can put things, lots of ways you can run wire. It's really not a problem at all. First and foremost, I did stick with my original plan and put the ESC down here. Excuse me, not the original plan. The original plan was out here. The revised plan stuck with the manual's recommendation to put the ESC in there. My first reservation was worried about temperature. It's going to be covered by both the canopy and some of the frame, but everybody I saw pictures of has it there. The manual says to put it there. Bobby Watts has his there. It must be okay. There's plenty of six big holes, 3 on each side for ventilation. The canopy kind of comes across there, so you're going to have some air coming through the bottom. I guess it's really no different than having it hanging off the front and the ESC and the canopy, blocking all of it. So easy to get a laser temperature gauge right on the bulk of the heatsink right through that hole. So you better believe the first couple of flights I'll be checking it. If it gives me any problems, I'll just relocate it, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. One thing you'll notice, I am running Deans on this. Now I get some flack for this. I'm a big proponent for using EC5 on big birds. My X7 has EC5, but then again my E7 has Deans. I know these are only rated to what, 80 or 100 amps or something along those lines, but you know what? I have, with my flight style, the 5 to 6 minute flights that I do, fast forward flight, big air, and I mean minor elevator sloppy tic-tocs, they've never come down even warm. I assure you, the first time as my skill level increases that I grab this to unplug the battery and it's warm, they'll get changed. But for now it was just easier. I already had this series wire made up. I have a stack of 6-cell packs that are for my E7 that are already Deans. I did order some 5,000 6-cell packs for this bird, but they're not in yet. They're going to be Wednesday, and I really want to maiden this thing. There's plenty of wire coming out there on both sides. If I need to, I can switch them to EC5. So you guys can, post 100 things if you want, telling me that's silly, but that's just what I did. I ended up running the elevator wire across here. I did end up needing 3 extensions. The flybar's controller is under the BEC. It was actually pretty easy. I just took out the top 2 and the bottom 2 and loosened the middle, and this whole gyro plate, ESC plate, rotated. So I was able to plug everything in, and I can still get to the bottom to plug my USB wire in. I have checked it, so that worked out really well. Motor's out of the way. I did take both the main shaft, main gear, and I put it back in, but the lower bearing block out, just so I can get my hands in there to run easier. I was originally going to try to bring this elevator wire down along, but I was going to need a 12-inch extension, and I understand these are not, over the grand scheme of things, these are not long distances, but it's relatively small amperage going through this wire. I was worried about if I made the servo extension too long, I could have resolution problems, signal issues, the servo not respond properly, so I wanted to keep it short, use only one 6-inch extension, so I went across the top. I don't think I'm going to have problems with this touch and swash plate. I don't run 15, 16 degrees of pitch, I run 12. When I get into head setup and start messing with the left swash, it looks like it's going to be the way I'll move it, but I'm really not anticipating a problem. Pitch servo is real easy down along here. Now I want to talk about this braid that I use. I don't like using the actual mesh braid. A, I suck at keeping it clean without it just comes unraveled, and B, this coil kind is really easy to install. It's really durable, it can be reused, and in this case I made the piece long enough that it actually wraps over the wire further than it goes through this hole in the frame, so that when this wire is in the frame there, this plastic is protecting the servo wire. I don't have to worry about the wire fraying. Although I did sand that a little bit, this plastic is protecting the servo wire. And then again on the other side, the two elevator and aileron servos come together. My extension is actually right there, extension joint's right there, and then again it protects it going through the frame. So it's kind of a dual purpose there. Makes it look a little nicer and protects the wire. Gyro in the obvious place. I use the 3M double-sided gel tape. Awesome stuff, nice and secure. I've never had to strap down a gyro since I started using that. Beck Pro set to 6 volts. I do have a 5.1 step-down regulator on the rudder. I am sticking with the RX pack. I'm running the RX pack through a regulator so I could use my LiPo rather than the Lifey. The only Lifey I had was like 1100 milliamps, and I want to have 4 or 5 flights easy. So that was worth 30 bucks. I was going to buy a battery anyway, so I was through a Beck Pro with an RX pack. RX pack's nice because it gets a little more weight in the nose, help with balancing. I can use the main blades to balance this way, of course, but this does help puts a little weight in the nose. All in all, I am very happy with the way it looks. Motor wires are tucked up. They are zip tied to the side of the pinion support, but I have checked it from 360 degrees, nowhere near impacting the sprag. Obviously, I'm not worried about these for vibration, and if I need to change the direction of the motor when I fire it up, really easy to get to those plugs and switch them. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. Next, I am going to put my main shaft and main gear back in, reset the pinion support, re-Loctite that. I'm going to build this linkage so my tail is there, and then I'm going to go through the flybarless setup far enough, probably do everything but the tail travel, just so that it's just a little easier to maneuver and rotate. My workstation's a little bit limited, and I was forced to put my computer next to the workstation, so on these 710 millimeter blades, it's going to be easier to position this without the tail on it. I'm sure I'll get somebody saying, hey, that was a silly way to do it, but the only reason to have the tail there is to check the tail throws. And I can level, the beautiful thing about the VBar Flybar Setup, I can level the swash, check the orientation, direction of the swash, set my throws, set my cyclic limits, do all of that stuff without the tail on it, and then go back through the setup and put the tail on. I can even program the governor without the tail on it. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut, take some good close-up pictures of electronics for you, build my tail linkage, get this piece together, and when we come back, I'll have the head on it. Okay guys, as you can see, I've got the main shaft, main gear, the swash plate, the linkage all set up. I've repositioned the camera a little bit so you can get a little better angle. I have got my computer plugged in. As you can see, I was able to plug that USB wire into the control panel where it was relatively no problem. Now what I need to do is I'm going to start stepping through my VBar setup. First and foremost, I got to program my Beck, make sure I'm not frying my servos, and then I'm going to step through the VBar setup, level my swash, check my throws. As you can see, that's supposed to be left. That's clearly not left. I got to reverse aileron. Elevator is also needing to be reversed. That's I'm pushing there and it's pulling. Pitch also reversed. So I'll step through those and get those reversed, and we'll go from there. Well, I talked earlier about striving to have a mechanically level swash. Well, there you go. Everything is level, swash plate touching all the way around, and I was able to get these two perfect without putting any trim on the servo. I had to put one click of servo trim on the elevator. That is a very mechanically level swash, and that's exactly what I love. You take your time and do it right. That is easily attainable. Now, there is nothing wrong with putting some trim on these, as long as you do it properly and relative to your Flybar's controller. Using sub trim, or in this case VBar's internal trim, to level the swash is not horrible. But I'm going to tell you, if you're having to put a bunch of trim on your bird to get the swash plate level, you gotta wonder about the integrity of the geometry. I wonder if the setup is going to be successful long term. But you know, there you go, nice and level. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the head on, get the blades on, and first one put the head on, then using my Rick Rohr's universal zero pitch tool, make sure I set the lengths for my balls for my swash to grips perfectly. Make sure I have exactly zero pitch. Now that I have a perfectly level swash, and it's very centered in the travel, the servos are very level. I like it. We got plenty of travel in that swash. So I'm going to get these zero pitch set up. When we come back, I'll have zero pitch set, links on, and ready to verify my geometry. Alright, I've got my zero pitch tool installed. Now you got to be careful with these. Get the proper amount of spacing under there, washers under there, so this is level across and it's not sagging here. And then you snug these down, but don't over tighten these blade grip bolts. You don't have a blade in here. You don't want to collapse the grip. The idea here is to keep it stationary, not really lock it down. The other thing I want to talk about are the links themselves. There's a lot of confusion on the forums. Some guys say these ball links are universal, meaning either side can go on first, but that's actually not true. And dropping his name a lot, and I apologize, but Robert Abels sent me a PM when we were talking about the Furium. Include me in that one side of these is actually a fraction of a millimeter larger than the other, so they could pop over the ball. So if you look really closely and look through them, the side you can't see the other side is the small one. Or you can put a mic on there, and like I did, and measure them. But I strongly suggest you work out which way is out, which is the narrow end. And I took, probably hard to see on that video, but right there is a little dot of red from my permanent marker, my Sharpie. I took a Sharpie and marked the outside so that all my ball links, when I'm done, I can visually see which way that needs to go. So there's the red mark, so that needs to go like that with the red mark out. It was really nice of Align and Gowie to label these for me. Miniature Aircraft. Great quality links, thread together really easy. It's not a real fight, but they don't really do a great job of labeling which end is out. But there is a right and wrong there, so be careful. Now the general theory here is the manual gives you approximation here. I like to thread them on a little bit, kind of eyeball them. You can see how you can get kind of close by setting them on there. And once I get it a little bit close, I'll start popping them on one by one at a time. Like that and that. That's not close yet. Turn them equally. In case I need to adjust later. That's getting close. It's important that you understand that while I'm doing this, my Flybar's controller setup is still on the computer, set on the swash level mode, so it's holding my servos level so that I can find the spot where those will pop on like that, move freely, and not bind my servo. That tells me that that link is perfectly measured. I'm not binding the servo. It's on, moves free, and my Rick Rohr tool is not distorted. So that link is perfect, and that blade grip is at zero pitch. You hear it spin around. The blade servos aren't fighting me as I go around. That grip is perfectly zero pitch, and the swash is level all the way around. Now I will take this other side, repeat the process, take a quick second, look at these links, which one is which. This one is out. Put a quick dot on it. Again, just take my Sharpie marker and put a dot. That is out. And I talked about how easy these links are. Some helicopters, and it was worse with the Alliance, but Gavies weren't easy either. My Synergy E7 were a breeze as well. Look how easy that just threads on there. It's not a fight, it just spins right on. And I'm doing that with my fingers. Got my ball link tool holding the shaft, of course, but I'm doing that with my fingers. There's no need for a tool. These guys are, the threads are perfect. It's a good coarse thread, good fine thread, well machined, and I was able to get that threaded on by hand. Now again, I'm going to take my marker, eyeball these, which one is which. This one's out. And I know this is probably boring some of you guys that have done hundreds of these links like me, but I want to show just how easy this is. See how I could turn that down by hand? Red out, red out. Could I be that lucky? Did I get it right that first time? Yep, look at that. Perfectly level, no binding the servos, tool's not distorted, goes all the way around without binding servos. That swash is level, verified with a metal swash plate leveling tool that I trust. I use it on my E7, perfect. Rick Rohr's tools holding my grips at 0, spins all around without binding servos. That is true zero pitch. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That easy, guys. Now what I can do is I'm going to put my blades on and follow the rest of the geometry setup with the Mini VBar. Set my min and max collective. Double check that my geometry is sufficient that I can get 8 degrees and be in the green on the VBar. BeastX wants 6 degrees. Align doesn't care. But the VBar wants 8 degrees, so we're going to make sure that's there. And then I will, once that's good, I will go ahead and put the tail on. I'll come back before I put the tail on so you can see the swash plate move and verify that I got it done. And then we'll put the tail on, set the tail throws, and we'll go from there. Okay, I am trying to find a way to position the light so that you guys can see this pitch gauge. But that is really dark and I apologize. Two things. One, I said I was going to put the blades on earlier, but that's really kind of a moot point. I know the swash plate is 0. I know my table is not level. As you can see, if I move this back to absolute, my table's off by about 3 degrees. But since I know the swash plate is level, I know the pitch is at 0, I can put my RC logger into relative mode, which will 0 there. And now it's going to adjust my throws from there. Now I have my swash plate set to give me 12 degrees of pitch, and that's what I like. Up and down 12 degrees. Now we're going to go one step further. Zero my sticks here. I'm sorry, my DX8, those pots are really sensitive. And I'm going to accept that, continue on my VBar. Now I'm going to measure my cyclic throw. Now I'm going to tell it to measure, and I want 8 degrees. Now, I'm going to tell you that right there is 8 degrees, no problem, and I am well in the green range of my flybar setup. So that is absolutely no problem. That value to get 8 degrees is actually 87 for those of you who are curious. That is pretty much in the middle of the green zone. They tell you they want you to be between 80 and 110. You get much below 80, the resolution of the servos aren't quite enough, and you need to get in there and do creative things like put shorter balls, move You can put on shorter balls here, which means the swash plate will have to travel further to accomplish this, or you can move the pitch arms in. I'm able to get 8 degrees inside that range. Absolutely no problem. This bird will fly just fine. Now I'm going to continue. Now it wants me to do the tail. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure to tell this thing is the correct kind of tail. So I'm getting maximum throw out of my tail, no problem. And that's beautiful. I love that. May need to adjust my rod length a little bit. Looks like it could use to be a hair longer. We'll play with that. The other thing I've decided to do is before I put the blades on, I'm going to go ahead and program the governor. Now is a great time to do that because I can let it spin the rotor head without too much concern. So I'm going to turn this off, pull this off, and I'm going to go ahead and go through the governor, power up the ESC. I already programmed the ESC. Now this is Scorpion ESC. That ESC does want you to have it in, actually has an external gov mode. And because I purchased the Commander V-Link with this, I have programmed Miniature ESC. That was a very, very wise investment. Since I have that, I was able to plug this into the PC, download the software from Scorpion's website, use the computer rather than the sticks. It's completely programmable sticks in the TX, but I kind of suck at that. I never get the beeps right. So I got the ESC set on external governor mode. I have the maximum, the speed change set the maximum speed, which is 0.15 seconds. It's blistering fast. And I have the Scorpion Opto phase connection cable running from the phase sensor output on the servo to the sensor 2 position on my full-size VBar. So I'm going to go ahead, and it's been a while since I set up an electric governor on the VBar. I've only done it one other time, so I'm not going to film it because I expect to be fumbling around and bumbling. But when I come back, I'll have the governor programmed, and I'll be ready to put this thing together. Okay guys, well it is 12:28 in the morning, and the governor is programmed. The tail, I got to put the tail on so I can get that going, but I'm actually going to go for a useful head speed of 2,000. I'm using the 14 tooth pinion that came with it. I've got an idle 2 programmed for 21, but 2,000 on 696s and on my E7 is plenty of pop. I'm sure the 710s on this one, 2,000 would be plenty. All in all, it's electronics are pretty straightforward. Leveling swash, piece of cake. Setting the cyclic throws, piece of cake. I wasn't worried about that at all. Really getting excited about building this, but it's 12:30 in the morning. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night now. That gives me enough time to put this video together real quick and get it uploaded. So I'm sorry, there will be a 5th video, and the 5th video will entail the bird complete, the tail adjusted. It will be nice and very, very, very short, and I'll be doing that after work tomorrow so I can still maiden this bird tomorrow. But thanks for tagging along, and we'll talk to you soon.